Long time no see, everybody. So for those of you that don't know, last year I was doing weekly project videos on Instagram where I would pick a project I wanted to do and go through the process of like making something or programming something or whatever. And I was having a lot of fun doing that, but I ran out of time last year. Like, I got so busy, did not have time to do anything. And also I was finding that Instagram being like a minute or two long videos was not a very good way to present what I wanted to present and what I wanted to do. So for a while I've been saying I was going to make a YouTube channel, but like I said, I just have not had time. But here we are. So for the first project that I want to do on here, I thought it'd be cool. I have access to this pixel matrix board that's not being used right now through my work. And I've been playing around a lot with this software called TouchDesigner recently, which is able to take inputs and outputs and convert it into media. It's very media based. It's hard to explain exactly what the software is, but the idea is I'm gonna take my webcam feed, process me into like a silhouette, like a white on black background silhouette, and then light that up onto here and have it live feed so that like I move around, it moves around. It's hard to explain. This is literally the entire hardest part about making this video. I don't know what to say to a camera, but I think this will be cool. I think this will be a fun project. Shouldn't be too hard. This is a pretty tried and true thing that's done a lot. So I'm not blazing any new ground. I won't have to custom code anything, but yeah, this should be fun. Let's get into it. Alright, so some things on the hardware side before we get into programming. This is a HinksPix controller. It is an Ethernet controller, so I'm going to have to run an Ethernet cable between my laptop and this to get it to talk to each other. But in between, I'm going to have a router, because if I don't, then my computer and this, their IP addresses might not be compatible with a router that takes care of that. You don't have to fuck with like static IP settings, all that kind of stuff. Other things to note, each and every one of these strands starts here, goes that way, and ends. Some of these screens, you'll see them, they'll go back, and then start again on the next one, so it'll be two. It'll go up and down, but these are just each individual strands. And the other thing to note is that these, the way this controller is, this output starts at 17. So it goes 17, 18, 19, 20, so on and so forth. So when I'm programming the pixels, I need to make sure that I start at output 17, not output 1. Otherwise, I'm going to get a bunch of weird stuff with this. And yeah, the only other thing to note is I noticed that strand 18 got unwired somehow, so I'm going to have to rewire that. But I'll get this all wired up, and then we can jump over the computer. Alright, so admittedly, I was originally going to work through all of this in real time and just show you guys the process of going through it, but it ended up being a lot more troubleshooting and problems than I was expecting. So I decided I just was going to work through all of this off screen, and I've already gone through all of this and made sure it's worked. So I'm just going to show you guys the process of like what I did. First things first, I've got the controller's webpage pulled open. You do this by basically typing in the IP address of the controller in any browser on your computer, and if your controller is talking to your computer, it'll pull up this web page. I can go to test outputs, test all of the different outputs, etc. You see all of the data that's coming in and out of here. Auto live update reset. Alright, so we're going to start with a blank, brand new TouchDesigner project. This is what it imports when you open a new TouchDesigner window. We're just going to delete all of this. And the first thing I'm going to add is my video device in, and that'll pull up my webcam and get my webcam working within the software. And what we're aiming for here is we want a clean white silhouette on a black background. So the first step in that is I'm going to add this NVIDIA background remove. And you can see that now I have a white silhouette on a transparent background, which seems pretty close to what we want. We just want the background blacked out. But this isn't doing exactly what you think it's doing. I'll show you that with a composite here. Method operation is going to be a top. And then we're going to add, I think, this, and then this. Yeah, okay. So you can see basically what this is showing is it's basically like, hey, the background doesn't exist, and this white is where you're able to place the content. So when we combine these together, it just removes my background completely. But that's not exactly what we want. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to add a constant. And that constant is just going to be solid white. So then if I disconnect this and connect into that, these look the same, except this is actually a white on transparent, and that's just blank content on a transparent. So that takes care of my white silhouette. And then I'm going to add another constant. And this one, I'm going to go to color black. And I'm going to make that solid black. And then I'm going to add another composite. And I'll combine these two. Swap my connected inputs here. Oh, the top. Alright. So now I've got a clear white silhouette on a black background, which is what we want to communicate with this board and what we want to be displaying. The only thing that's wrong here is I need to take this into a fit. And I need to make this the same resolution as my screen, which my screen is 50 pixels across and 24 pixels high. So now you can see that my silhouette is the same amount of pixels as the screen, except for the fact that we've got these edges here. So I'm going to go to fit here, and instead of fit best, I'm going to hit fill. So now my image takes up the entire screen instead of just like a small square in the middle. So that's basically all we need to do on the actual video inside of things. We just take the webcam, we process the background out of it, and make it into a solid black on white silhouette, and then make sure it's the same resolution as the screen. So that's all pretty straightforward. The next step that we need to do is we need to process this all into data, and then we use the chop menu for that. The top to chop, and then where it says top here, I'm just going to add my fit. And now you can see as I'm moving around, the data here is moving around. So there's a couple things we need to fix in this top two. First things first, on this first image menu, where it says RGB A units 0 to 1, I'm going to change this to 0 to 255, because when we're dealing with LEDs, their brightness settings are 0 for completely off, 255 for completely on, and dim settings is anywhere in between. Now the other thing that was really tripping me up when I was trying to figure this out is if you go into crop here, it says crop row U, and then all of this. Basically what this is doing right now is it's taking my very bottom row of data and it's processing into that, but I want all of my data. So I'm going to go to here, crop full image, and now I've got all of my rows of data. Only problem with this is RGBA data, so it's red, green, blue, alpha, and my pixels and my DMX channels, all of that, they don't use any alpha data. So I'm going to go delete channels on, and then channel names, And now before this star, I'm going to put A, because the star means it's going to grab all of the channels with the channel name of A and delete them out. So if I hit enter here, you can see now in the list, it's R0, G0, B0, R1, G1, B1, R2, G2, B2, etc. So this is just straight RGB data. So next, DMX wants all of this in just a nice single stream of data. So we're going to go to Shuffle. Method, sequence all channels. So now all of this is put into one long stream of data. Now, next thing I got to do is I can't just feed a long stream of data into my DMX channels, because DMX, it's capped at 512 channels per universe. And this is a lot more than 512 channels. This is RGB data for an entire image worth of things. So what I need to do next is just add another shuffle. No, tab, shuffle. And then method, we're gonna go split every nth sample. And then if we go here into the HinksPix controller menu, and then open up the E131 ArtNet DDP menu, we can see DMX channels per universe for this screen is 300. So in here, N value, we're gonna put 300. So now, it's all 300 channels, and then the next 300 channels, etc., etc., etc. So, next thing we need to do is go to DMX out. Under DMX, interface is going to be SACN, because that's what our screen is set to. Packet per channel is what we want. Network, I'm going to turn multicast off. For the network address, that is going to be our 192.168.1.2. So I'll copy this, go back in here, paste that, get rid of my HTTP. And then this is all pretty much okay. And then the next thing we got to do is we'll click this little pink menu here. This is going to open up our routing table. If I click this little star here, it'll let us go into and interact with it. Add row. So for channel, all of our channel names are R0, R1, R2, R3, etc. So I'm going to add my first channel name as R01, because the channel 00 is usually reserved. So R01. For my net and subnet, I'm going to hit 0. And then for universe, you can see in our HinksPix menu that our first DMX universe is 17, like I showed you guys on the actual controller itself. So now we're going to go into here and click universe 17. So now this is sending all of this data into channel 17, which we can confirm by going into status, and then you can see that 17 is currently at 604. If I go to auto live update, you can see channel 17 is actively counting up its data numbers. So that takes care of our bottom row of pixels. And now I just need to do that. $18. Etc, etc, etc. And that's how I get all of my data into my pixel screen. I need to continue this routing table all the way up from channel 17 through 41, and then I'll get my full screen worth of data, and then I can show you guys what this looks like on the actual board itself. So you can see I've got everything all wired up and hooked up here. My cord is running to my screen, and you can see that as I move around, it reacts on the board real time. Like if I stick my hand up, you can see me waving. You can see there's a mirror right here, and it directly mirrors everything I'm doing in real time. Like there's not a lot of latency in this, which is nice. But yeah, move left, I move left, move right, I move right. And now from here, now that everything's talking with each other the way it should, you can do all sorts of things. Like let's say I want to make this constant color to red. Now all of a sudden, I have a red silhouette instead of a white one. Same goes for like, let's say I want to make my background, I don't know, blue. Now I have a red silhouette on a blue background. I can add delays to this so that like there's like some trails and tracers and all sorts of things, or whatever I want really. But that's the basics of how to make one of these boards real time to communicate with this. Yeah. Oh wow, I have no head now. And then the sharp-eyed viewers of you might have noticed that my webcam is here and my board is here, but you can do things in the software like add flips to your video and stuff like that to make it line up so when you move right on the board, etc. So yeah, that's how you do this. So that was a fun little experiment. If you're trying to follow along with what I did, don't necessarily take my advice as the end-all be-all of how to do this. I've only been playing around with TouchDesigner for like a little over a month now, so know how to do some things but not everything, but this was mostly just an excuse because I've been wanting to make YouTube videos for a while, and I've also been wanting to try out this process and figure out how to get this to work. So it seemed like a pretty good excuse to get both of those things done at the same time. But yeah, thanks for following along with me. I'll try to make more YouTube videos in the future. Hopefully, maybe, you either find this entertaining or you learn something from this. And yeah, until next time, guys.